Hey everybody, how's it going? I just couldn't help myself. Every now and then, as we all do, spend your time looking at Craigslist, looking at Facebook Marketplace. Everybody saves those things that you just think, if they're the right price, that maybe, just maybe, you might buy it. So for whatever reason, I had the bug here recently, and another classic car was calling my name, even though I already have three of them, including two that I'm currently working on doing different stuff. So I probably needed another one, like I need a hole in my head. So what did I end up dragging home? So back in the mid 60s, there was a few different manufacturers that had the stacked headlights. And I don't even know actually who the first one to do it. I want to say it was probably Pontiac. I don't know that for certain, but it seemed like them and the GTO and Le Mans, some of those cars, came out maybe 64. I don't remember the first year of that, but they had the stacked headlights. Some others followed suit. So Ford actually, they did stacked headlights, if memory recalls correctly. I think it was 65 through 67. And that's it. Nobody before that really did it. Nobody afterwards really did it. So it was kind of a unique 3-year period there in the mid 60s. And well, I'm not going to say that, those are by all means the holy grail of vehicles for me. I do think they are kind of interesting just because they are a little bit different. I mean, there's anybody can have a Mustang or a Camaro or something like that, but there's some of these cars that are just a little bit on the fringe edge that I think sometimes are a little more interesting. So with that being said, this is what I drug home. So at first initial glance, I'm sure some people, if you know your Fords a little bit, are saying, yeah, it looks like you got a 66 or 67 Ford Fairlane. Well, kind of. One thing I will say is that I actually do like that 66 and 67 Ford Fairlane body style quite a bit. For whatever reason, it's always something that I thought was a pretty good looking body style. They look good about any angle, get some decent wheels on them and things. They just have a good stance to them. They just can be made to look really good. Some of you probably already figured it out, but for those of you that haven't, this is actually not a Ford Fairlane. So it is, but it isn't. This is a 1966 Mercury Comet. So they were essentially the same car as was typical back in those days with a lot of those Ford and Mercury offerings. So once again, they got a lot of the same, sheet metal skin, stuff like that. They got different tail lights, got different grills and that sort of thing. So anyway, this is a 1966 Mercury Comet. And for whatever reason, when I saw the ad for it, I thought, you know what, this is a pretty cool car. It was in a price range where I thought, you know what, this is something I could probably add to the fleet. It's not perfect, but for the price I paid for it, I think it was a fair price. And it's a driver type car. It's something that can pretty much just jump right in and you can drive it and not feel bad about it. The paint's nice, but it's got a few chips here and there. The interior's nice, but it's not too nice. You can't do anything with it. So, I think it'll be a good fit because to be honest, that's what a lot of my rest of my vehicles are like too. Something that, kind of catches people's eyes here and there, but they're not show car quality stuff by any shape of imagination. So another thing this car has, which once again, I'm not normally a huge fan of, it only has 14-inch wheels, which were kind of commonplace back in those days. And I'm not really a fan of 14s. I think they're too small on about anything. But these are the Magnum style wheels, which, they kind of mimic a 5-spoke. So I don't necessarily hate that. One thing though that I do really like about them, makes them kind of cool and probably be something that I keep for quite a while, is that these wheels were from a Mercury Comet Cyclone. So they have the little Mercury head right there in the center cap. I think that's actually a pretty cool deal, and you probably don't see those a lot anymore. So those will probably stay. I guess one thing else I'll throw out there, I don't know the Comet all that well. There was a lot of different models or trim lines, I guess you get on the Comet. So there was the Capri, there was the Caliente, There was the Cyclone, and I think the Cyclone was kind of the top end car. This was a Capri, which is more of the base option. But the original person that had this car, I think they were kind of going for a Cyclone type lookalike. So those wheels that we just talked about, they're from a Cyclone GT. One other thing that's also from a Cyclone is that cool hood that's got those fake hood scoops, is also from the Cyclone GT. So kind of a cool look to it. So we walk around the car a little bit more, hit Scott's. I don't know how well they show up. It's got some ghost flames, which I'm not necessarily a huge fan of flames either, but they're not too obnoxious, so I think I can look past that pretty easy. Two-door hardtop, which everybody loves a hardtop, right? Got full dual exhaust. That's what the back end of it looks like. So for those of you that know the Fairlane, you know, 66 taillights were different than 67 taillights, and the Comet was altogether different. So that's kind of a walk around of the car. So maybe let's take a quick look inside. I think the interior, once again, kind of matches the price range. So the dash, looks like somebody redid that at one point. Looks pretty good. The door panels, somebody upholstered those, not too bad. It's got a pretty good looking bench seat. Some of the ribbing here is a little bit, oh, I don't know, a little frayed, a little torn, you know, but I guess that's the way it is. The carpet looks good. Somebody at one time smoked in it, dropped a cigarette. I can look past that. The rear seat looks pretty nice. You know, there's a little more cleaning that can probably be done here and there. Headliner looks pretty good. So all around, not anything I'm too worried about. A little more cleaning, but this is definitely something you can just jump right in and go. So here's what the engine bay looks like. It's clean. It's not overly fancy. This car originally, I guess, was a 289 car. However, not the guy I bought it from, but the previous owner to that, I think I went ahead and swapped it with a 351 Windsor. I don't know exactly what it came out of. I don't know what it has in it. Has a little bit of rumble to it, as we'll hear here in a little bit. So maybe there's a little bit bigger cam in it. Other than that, it looks like it's cast iron heads, cast iron manifolds. So no idea compression ratio, anything like that. It still just has exhaust manifolds on it. There's nothing too crazy there. There is one thing in this whole view that will be changed out almost right away before I really start driving it. Maybe can anybody guess what that is? And maybe I already kind of showed it a little bit. Back in '66, I think was the last year in Ford. I don't know about others, with a single reservoir master cylinder. There's a lot of miles driven by lots of vehicles where that single reservoir worked plumb fine, but the bad thing about them, especially on a drum brake vehicle, which this one is that if you lose a wheel cylinder, it's possible to lose all of your brakes, which is a very bad thing. Like I said, I think 66 was last year for Fords. To do that, I've already bought a dual reservoir master cylinder. I'll just keep it manual brakes for now. But that way, if for some reason you lose something, you will go ahead and still have at least your front or rear brakes, depending on where your failure was. This car has been sitting for about 7 years, I think is what it's told to me. You know, brake systems, they always figure out a way to not quite work, sitting a long time. These front wheel cylinders look like they're weeping a little bit. They have not blown out, but I went ahead and just bought 2 new front wheel cylinders to go ahead and replace there before we start doing any sort of driving whatsoever. So I think that's pretty much it for now. Replace master cylinder, replace 2 wheel cylinders, and then let's just drive this thing and try to have a little bit of fun with it. You can probably see and probably hear that exhaust, it just dumps basically right behind the rear axle there. You kind of see it drop down. Here's what it sounds like. It does sound like it does have a little rumble to it. It does have a Holley 4-barrel on it with electric choke, so I think that's kind of a cool thing. The carburetor, I haven't really looked at all that closely. It is a 4160, so it just has the metering plate in the secondaries there, and I haven't even looked at it close enough to know what size of carburetor it is. So once again, this is the new purchase, and you know how these things go. Only when you start driving them and doing some different stuff with them do you really find all the bugs. But this car was kind of the pride and joy of the guy that owned it, so, and he was a mechanic on top of it, so I get the feeling he probably stayed on top of things. But once again, we'll learn more. So pretty excited about this whole purchase, and looking forward to taking good care of it, but also driving around and get some use out of it. So I made the comment about the stacked headlight Fords being from 65 through 67. So of course we just talked about the Mercury Comet here on the right is the 66, and then I don't know if I've had in my channel too much, that's our 67 Ford Galaxy convertible, and I really do like that car. This Comet is actually in nicer shape than that Galaxy, but it being a convertible, just a nice solid driver. We've had a lot of fun in that car, and our kids really like it. So once again, there's our two stacked headlights, mid-60s Fords. So we'll just kind of take a walk around, get a view of all of them. Now the Fairlane and the Comet 65, 66, they were known as more of the mid-size offering, while the Galaxy was more of the full-size offering. So make sure I don't fall off my deck here. You can kind of see that the front of the Galaxy, the front of the Comet are pretty close to being in the same spot. And then, you know, as we walk around, you know, we'll be able to see that, although it's maybe not as much as you might think, that Galaxy is a little bit bigger car than that Comet. But I still do like both of them. I think I like the Ford taillights better. Those taillights are more similar to what you'd see on the Fairlane. But I think I can come to like those Mercury ones as well. So anyway, those are our two cars to go with our two old pickups. So I think I'll go ahead and close this video off here. And stay tuned. There may be some more content regarding this Comet, but if all things go well, I'm not going to be working on it actually all that much and just be driving it. So with that, hope you enjoyed this video, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks for viewing.